Beep, 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 beep. Just a special. I had to do this. I couldn't help myself, right? Okay? I've got so much to do today. But no, this came across my virtual desk. And I thought to myself, now is the time. Now is the time to share this with the good Jesterites of YouTube and the rest of the world. So, as I mentioned in my post previously, come along. This is a premiere, as it's called, which means I'm sat here watching. This is pre-recorded, but I'm in the chat, right? Because I just can't get my head around what I've found, right? But you have to hear it, because it is Insanity 101, right? It is on the subject, as I mentioned, of lesbianism. Lesbians. Yes, scissors. Or whatever you want to call them, right? Lesbians, okay? Those lovely lesbians. What do you call a lesbian dinosaur? Lickalopus. Right, that says it all. Actually, that should be the answer to this particular article from the Gay Times. This just is in the doobriz, all right? It's in the doobriz. Just wait for it. This is written by somebody called Amy Ashenden, who is interim CEO of Just Like Us. Okay, right. And the title is this: Lesbians being anti-trans is a lesbophobic trope. See? Now this, folks, is an exercise in queering. This is what queer theory does to a brain, okay? Amy Ashenden, interim CEO of Just Like Us, is dispelling the harmful trope that lesbians are against the trans community. Right, okay, Amy. Right, I'm all ears, dear. Let's go. The other day, says Amy, I got a WhatsApp from a lesbian friend. I'm worried lesbians are seen as anti-trans, she said. Yeah, that's a random thing that didn't happen, isn't it? This is someone who, even in her 30s, has struggled to embrace the word lesbian. There is already so much shame and stigma around the word lesbian. What are you talking about? I don't think there is. Do you know why? It used to be illegal to be gay. Did you know that? Some of you won't. And the people that are involved in this certainly don't know. I was born a criminal. In theory, right? Lesbianism was never criminalised. You know why lesbianism was never criminalised? And people say, well, Queen Victoria didn't think it existed. Bollocks. It's got nothing to do with Queen Victoria thinking it didn't exist. The reason that lesbianism was never ever made illegal was because it turned on straight men. You know, there is a shame and stigma. In fact, the harmful stereotypes associated with the word have directly caused the majority, 68%, of us to delay coming out. What? Right? Lesbophobic tropes. What is that even? Lesbophobic tropes? It sounds like a really bad CBBC program, doesn't it? Hey up, kiddies. It's lesbophobic tropes. So lesbophobic tropes that were man-hating or unattractive are really just homophobia and misogyny rolled into one. Lesbophobic tropes that were man-hating or unattractive are really just homophobia and misogyny rolled into one. What? What are you talking about? Now you can tell that this individual is gender-addled grievance gerbil because they think it's all about the looks, right? So they're thinking about what they wear in, have they got nice long hair, you know, if they're a man, are they masculine? This is how gender traps the individual, and Amy Ashenden is obviously caught in the vice so badly that her eyes are about to pop out. See the film Casino. Right, now, several lesbians I know, would that be a legion of lesbians? Several lesbians I know now say they feel torn about using the word, even though it's exactly who they are and a word that describes them best, which you, Amy, don't recognise. They do this so that doesn't describe them best due to a certain narrative that we are somehow predispositioned to be anti-trans. No, they just don't want to sleep with men, you fool, right? As a lesbian, I'm horrified by this, and it also just doesn't add up. See, reality doesn't add up. I texted my friend back, how many anti-trans lesbians do you know? She replied, none. I don't know any either, and I know a lot of lesbians. Get out more. The idea that lesbians are somehow more likely to be anti-trans is yet another lesbophobic trope that we're forced to deal with and dismantle. No, the lesbophobic trope, Amy, you absolute flapdoodler, right, is the fact that you think lesbians should accept men into their bed. Right? You're the lesbophobe. You understand? Amy? The idea that lesbians are somehow more likely to be anti-trans is another lesbophobic trope, and we're forced to deal with and dismantle. Well, go on then, Amy. Dismantle it. It's what you do with everything else, you TQ nutter. That's why I'm so glad that we finally have the research to demonstrate that most lesbians already knew this narrative is completely false. So they've finally got it. They've got what they need to nail these lesbians who won't sleep with men, to get rid of same-sex attraction, which of course is their plan. New research by Just Like Us. Oh, by your organisation then. Right, okay. Found that lesbians are the most likely of the whole LGBTQ plus hands, knees and bumps a daisy community to be supportive of trans people. Lesbians are the most likely to say they know a trans person, and also the most likely to say they are supportive or very supportive of trans people. That's compared to 89%, because that was, 92 and 96%, 89% of LGBTQ plus hands, knees and bumps a daisy people overall, and just 69% of non-LGBTQ people. So non-LGBTQ plus people. Everybody who doesn't believe their gender identity bullshit. Right? Everybody. The research was independently conducted. That was just a man from a bus stop. And surveyed more than 3,600 adults. Wait for it. Aged 18 to 25. They finally got the evidence they need. You numpty. Right? 18 to 25. Come on. Now, you know as well as I do that, if I meet a woman who happens to be a lesbian who's in her 50s, the chances are that she's got more wisdom in her small finger than anybody who's 18 to 25. That's the way the game works. If they're 18 to 25, I'm going to take it there's more likely to be more whiz and less dom. Because they can't control themselves, can they? Whittlers, right? Even within a group of young adults who would be expected to be more supportive of trans people, would they now? I bet they would, because they're the ones you've been targeting, aren't they? With your gender identity and your queer theory. Even with a group of young adults who would be expected to be more supportive of trans people, lesbians are still incredibly strong allies relative to the rest of the LGBTQ plus hands, knees and bumps daisy community. But there are other reasons that the idea that lesbians are more likely to be anti-trans doesn't add up. That's literally what they wrote. But there are other reasons that the idea that lesbians are more likely to be anti-trans doesn't add up. That sentence doesn't add up. Have a look at the Dubras. Doesn't add up. One is that being a lesbian and being trans are not mutually exclusive. Right? Sexual orientation and gender are different part of our identities. You could be trans and a lesbian. Secondly, as a lesbian, I see so much overlap with the experiences we and trans communities encounter in the heterosexist world we live in. This is textbook QT crap, innit? This feeds my warrior teachers. They'll love this crap. They'll lap it up, right? It says, so particularly as a butch lesbian, I know that we are both used to living in the margins. Really? So you as a butch lesbian are used to living in the margins, and heterosexual men with a fetish are used to living in the margins. Yeah, I think you chose to go there, dear. Right? Because the ones that should be living in the margins are the heterosexual men with a fetish and a paraphilia. And you should probably just be saying I'm a lesbian and find other women. You ridiculous. You'll make yourself mentally ill, Amy. It's only a matter of time and you'll end up gaga, goo-goo. Right? That's going to happen. Poor girl. Are you a girl? Who knows? Might be a boy pretending. Particularly as a butch lesbian, I know that we are both used to living in the margins, to not having our identities respected or understood. It's nothing to do with identity. Right? Lesbians and trans people stand side by side. Well, they do, but one's significantly shorter than the other. Lesbian and trans people stand side by side. We always have done. No. Since the 1970s and 80s, they've been warning us about these men. You are choosing to look through a very narrow lens because you're an ideologue, and it's the only lens you can look through. Power and oppression, Amy, eh? Power and oppression, dear. Where'd you get that from? Your ridiculous uni degree and your stupid professors? Tell us, because we need to know. This is obviously important. Lesbian and trans people stand side by side. We have always done and always will. This isn't just my opinion. No, it's really just your opinion, right? The research shows this is the case too. What is that? The research from the 18 to 25-year-olds? It's surreal. They think this is valid. I mean, they actually do think they've done something. They are that intellectually moribund and that emotionally crippled that they think they've done a thing by patting themselves on the back with nonsense. The good news to come from our research, oh, thank goodness, some good news. What are we going to get? The good news to come from our research is that if you know a trans person, you're twice as likely to be a trans ally. Well, if you could define trans, that would help, Amy. You can have a go at that. Anybody can say they're trans, don't make much difference. Well, that fantastic guy in America who's come out as a trans woman of colour. And they've gone mad. He sat there, this guy, he's some kind of MP, what would be, I suppose, the equivalent, or councillor or governor or something, sitting there going, listen, I'm a black woman of colour, and I'm female. And they're all going, I don't think you're being genuine. And they've even got some great big bloke stood there in a dress and a wig going, I'm very unhappy that you're doing this. It's obviously, for God's sake, without a hint of irony. So you've got this, this guy's an absolute genius. I'm having it. You don't get to question me. You don't get to question me. You made the rules. It's pure genius. I'll try and find it and put it in the doobers. But it's brilliant, right? Same sort of madness that these people who were moaning about him have got is the same thing that Amy's doing. So, 3/4 of those who say they are not supportive of trans people don't even know a trans person in real life. Transphobia really is rooted in a fear of the unknown. Are you absolutely insane? They've had their fake dicks and their, moulded gash flashed all over the television for the past 5 years and any other medium you care to look at. You're full of it, Amy. Trans people make up 0.5% of our population. How many AGPs, Amy? How many cross-dressing men? How many? You don't answer that, do you? 0.5%. 0.5% of the population have not got a mental illness, dear. Calm down. They're a tiny community, so it's no one. And she's getting this from the census, which we know is a load of cobblers anyway, and people lied through their teeth. Didn't understand the question. Could this be more flawed, Amy? I wonder. Possibly. Right. They're a tiny community, so it's no wonder so few people know someone who is trans. They're a well-funded, top-down imposition of a fetid, rank, child-harming ideology, Amy. And you, my dear, are an enabler. But so it's no wonder that so few people know someone who's trans. But that, coupled with a constant barrage of negative media headlines, politicians being interrogated on their definition of what makes a woman, why are we even asking men to define women anyway? The irony! That's what she got it in brackets! Why are we even asking men to define women anyway? I mean, they are so unaware of how stupid they are. Unbelievable. This person is going into schools, I believe, or sending her rubbish into schools. I may be wrong. Tell me if I am, right? Trans people being framed as a debate for the dinner table. That plus why are we even asking men to define women anyway is a dangerous mix. What? Total and absolutely insane. Doesn't think that sex exists in that one sentence. Absolutely offer cheese box, right? Suddenly everyone feels the pressure and the entitlement to have an opinion on a topic they largely know nothing about. No! Men or women, that's it. You can ask anybody. Right, Matt Walsh went to the outer reaches of Africa and asked people, what's a man, what's a woman? And they answered the question. Amy, they hide information like that in books. Try reading a few. Transphobia is rising at an alarming rate. No, it's not. Okay? What is rising is a backlash to your nonsense against gays and lesbian people when the rest of them would just take off their clothes and, go back to being what they really are. I find it surreal when people fail to see the parallels between the tactics of promoting homophobia and the fear of the unknown used against us in the past, and the ways that trans people are being talked about today. Because you don't understand your history, you stupid person. This fear-mongering led to Section 28. No, it didn't. Why does this keep coming up, right? It did not lead to Section 28, and you're not old enough to know anything about it anyway. You're an absolute infant, okay? What it led to was a response from Parliament because we've been infiltrated by the likes of you before. This fear-mongering led to Section 28 and to the generations of LGBTQ plus people suffering because of those attitudes. There was no TQ plus, you stupid child. Now we're seeing history repeat itself. We are, Amy, you're absolutely right. What we're seeing is a grotesque ideological position attaching itself to gay people's and lesbians' lives and using gays and lesbians as a springboard to achieve your ideologically deranged aims. That much you're right about. Okay? So we must push through this fear of the unknown. There's nothing unknown about it. I've been to Sparkle for the last God knows how many years since it started. I know exactly what some of these people are, and so do you. So you must push through this fear of the unknown. That's why LGBTQ plus, here it comes, inclusive education in schools is so vital. Give me money, let me get to your children. We must create a brighter future for young people who can know there is no shame in being a butch dyke like me, trans or non-binary, or whoever they grow up to be. Yeah, go sleep with a bloke. Because you won't, right? Because you're a trans rights activist in the streets and you're a TERF in the sheets. I can see through you like a plate glass window. This is dangerous stuff, people, right? And these are the type of people that are going into schools and teaching your children, right? And type of people that are infesting HR departments and infesting organizations that have fallen to these cult thinking, right? I couldn't resist telling you about it because it's just insane. Go and read it. It's like, oh my God, is this real? Yeah, it's real. I mean, this is the Gay Times, who have no right using the word gay. Get it off your bloody title, I say. But hysterical. I mean, I was just gobsmacked. I couldn't believe it. I thought, no, I shall do a Jester special for lunchtime. And I have. And you've just watched it. Goodbye.